Hi guys. Just feeling inspired to do another short video. Oh, wow. I want to talk to you about knowing, not what we think we know, but what we really know. Whoa. What do we really know? How much do we really know about anything? Whoa. I want to convince you today that you know things that maybe you're just not aware of yet. Whoa. It's one of my favorite books now. There's a scripture in 1 Corinthians 13 that says, when that which is perfect may come, this is the Young's literal translation, when that which is perfect may come, then you will know even as you're also known. So what does that mean? The Lord is showing me a while back that we think we have understanding of what that word to know means. But man, it's so much bigger than what we're taught. If you look up the word knowledge or to know in the dictionary, it almost exclusively talks about intellectual knowledge. But the word as it's used in Scripture, especially going all the way back in the Hebrew, the word is yada, which means it speaks of a more intimate knowing. It speaks of an experiential knowing. And so when Scripture talks about the knowledge of God, it literally means more like knowing what God knows. So not your knowledge and not our head knowledge, but it's the knowledge that God has. So how do we get that? You know, we spend a lot of time looking at Scripture. But what I'm encouraging you today is to think about intimacy and relationship with a being where you have a direct line of communication. So you're open to wisdom and revelation. It's insight into you, which is knowing what He has always known about you. So He wants to make it personal. So today I'm talking about personal, intimate, experiential knowledge of God, with God, co-knowing what He knows. So the problem is what I've encountered, I think what I've seen in myself from my own experience is realizing at some point that my thinking was not my friend. That what I thought I knew was not really true at all. I was relying on what I thought I knew. I was relying on my head knowledge to get me through life. And what Scripture's been revealing and what God has been showing me is that when we're in our minds, when we're in our own head, in our own thinking, in our own thinking we know stuff, when we're eating of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, it's darkness. It's utter darkness. And there's no truth in it. There's no revelation in it. It's an illusion. We depend on our minds instead of what my heart is to open us up to access the Spirit. The Spirit is inside. It's the deepest part of a man. It's the deepest part of you. So when I do these videos, I know I look weird and I'm unkempt. That's because I'm in this place, I'm in this space where it's like I'm not even thinking about what I look like. But I am thoughtful or mindful of what it might look like to you, and it is a stark contrast to what our world teaches, to what our culture teaches us, that our minds are our masters, our minds, our intellect is all powerful. And what we don't realize is it's so insidious in our culture, this elevation or this idolizing the human mind, that it keeps us from accessing the spirit. So if I do a video, it's to speak to your spirit, spirit to spirit. I'm not trying to speak intellectually. I'm not trying to give you more knowledge in your head. I'm not trying to speak to your head. I'm hoping that you'll feel by the Spirit what God is trying to say, and what God is trying to access, what God's trying to open up in you, and it's an awareness of this knowing, this knowledge that He's put in you. You have an extra sensory perception that's beyond your senses. It's beyond, depending on what you think you see, what you hear, what you think you know, coming into the truth of a reality that is such a contrast to all of that. It's a contrast to what we think we know. It's a stark shift. It's a holy shift, coming into an awareness of what He knows. So when that scripture says that you will know even as you're known, God is saying, first of all, it's personal. He's speaking to you and He's in you personally, communing with you. He's communicating with you. And I can promise you that every single living soul has had experience with the divine. Whether you remember it or not, you've had experiences like, if you want to call it deja vu. You've had experiences of dreams. You've had encounters and circumstances that are unexplainable. You can't figure it out in your head. We're so quick to dismiss it intellectually because we're dependent on our intellect. My heart is to encourage you to begin to tap into and access the knowledge of God. It's the inherent divinity within you that wells up in you, it's a still small voice that you have the ability to perceive. Become aware in the stillness, or at any moment when He strikes you in a way that makes you stop. Don't dismiss that moment, but sit with it for a minute. Let it speak to you. And I would encourage you to soak in the words of God, whether it's scripture or worship music, or find a place, His place that He has found you, and allow Him to commune with you so that it opens up this awareness of knowing, the yada, this experiential revelation of wisdom and insight, of the knowledge of God. And it's Him telling you about you. He's not confused about who He is. God knows who He is, but He knows you better than you know yourself. And His heart is to reveal you to you, the magnitude of you. It's so awesome who you are in Him and who He's put in you to be, your desires, your purpose, your unique expression. He's trying to reveal that to you so you will know as you're known. You'll know what he knows to be true about you. I don't know how to say it, but I just invite you to open up your minds, let your minds go, and open up your spirit, open up your heart. It's the eyes of your heart. He's trying to open up. There's eyes in there. There's insight to see inside of yourself, to see from the inside out an invisible reality that's as real and as tangible. It's more real than the physical reality. All things physical were made from the invisible. That's the reality you can tap into. That's the reality of the knowledge of yourself, this eternal being that you are. So come into that today. I just encourage you to soak in what he's revealing to you. Know what he knows. I love you guys. Be blessed, be empowered by the Spirit of God.